do you ever feel like you run out of things to say on your podcast? Or do you ever feel like you don't have enough things to say? You don't know exactly how to get more content for your podcast? Or is that something that's just holding you back? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can actually get enough things to say so that you never run out of things to say on your podcast and you always have content ready and available to put out to your people. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right. So here's the thing with most people when they start their podcast is that they don't know how to create enough content, right? They're not knowledgeable enough. Maybe that might be the thing. They might not be knowledgeable enough for it, or they may be knowledgeable enough, but they're finding that they're saying the same things over and over and over again. And I used to have that same problem when I first started. I knew a lot, but I started to feel like I'm repeating myself over and over and over again. And I felt like, my audience is getting bored with what I'm saying because I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again, right? And if you don't have enough content, you're going to stop creating. And then you're going to, like I said, you're going to feel like repeating yourself like I did. And then your audience will actually get bored, right? Your audience will actually get bored with you. The people that are coming, week after week after week, they will get bored. And they're like, I heard that before. I heard that before. But here's the thing. I do want to side note that with this, that when people start to come to your podcast and they start to listen and they get used to what you're saying, they'll still come back because they still want to hear things. But you can't neglect the fact that there are people that are coming that are new that haven't heard what you said that will start getting their epiphanies from the things that you're saying. Case in point, I listen to Myron Golden all the time, and literally I listen to this man so much in a year. He still amazes me as how he kind of still twists this. He has the same message every single time, but he twists the messaging and come at it from a different angle, but then hits right. Like, it's masterful how he does this, right? And so you have to be cognizant of the fact that new people are not going to be hearing the things that you've already said. So they're going to binge on your stuff and they're going to hear you. And then they're going to know. But literally, like I said, when I was listening to Myron Golden, when he comes in and he starts talking, I was like, he's about to talk about the 4 levels of value here. He's about to talk about how the trees planted by the root, trees planted by the roots of the water, right? Yep, he's getting ready to talk about, how people see things in the future, negative things in the future, and they're putting a frame around the negative item. He's about to talk about that. I can literally tell you exactly what he's about to say when he's about to say his prepared messages, right? Because he says a prepared messenger is better than a prepared message, and he is totally right. He is totally right, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to become prepared messengers. All right, we're going to become prepared messengers because we don't want to prepare a message and sound like we're reading all the time. We need to have this information stored in our brain so that we can get it out to the people. Right? So we're going to become a prepared messenger today, and we're also going to prepare messages too. So it's going to be twofer. You got twofer. Okay? So I used to teach business credit. And when I was teaching business credit, I had a lot of things to say. I had a lot of tactics, a lot of strategies. I sold a course for $50. We made $20,000 in like 5 or 6 months. So it wasn't a whole lot of money, but it was enough money, So that course sold, out of my brain, sold $20,000. So it was great. It was a great time. And I kind of felt like I was saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. And when I was putting out my social media, I'm like, what do I put out today? What do I say today? Because I'm like, I've already talked about this. I've already talked about that. And I already talked about this. And everything that I was doing was literally just tactical. Just tactical. Tactical meaning do this, do that, do this, do that. But there was no other kind of information. And so Myron Golden talks about his 4 levels of value. And of course, I'm going back. That's my man. That's my man, 50 grand. So he talks about the 4 levels of value. The 4 levels of teaching. which tells you how to teach, right? And if you're teaching at the lowest level, you don't have to teach harder, you just have to teach higher, right? So teaching at the lowest level is the tactics. Teaching at a higher level would mean you would be giving out principles and things like that. And so once you start to move your teaching to a higher level, you start to get more information, and you'll start to give out better information, and you're able to tie things back. And so this is an art form, right? This is an art form. But I'm gonna tell you how you can bypass this, okay? And how you can get this done very, very quickly. So as I was teaching this business credit, I had to learn how to take the same information and flip it so I can get 3 types of different pieces of content with the same content idea. Does that make sense? So that literally means I'm going to talk to people and I'm going to give them a concept, but I'm going to do the same concept in 3 totally different angles. And I'll show you what I mean here. So you can make your old content new just by changing the perspective. All right. And I read a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And forgive me if I say his name wrong. I think it's Robert Covey. Covey. I can't remember. I can remember names of books, and some the authors' names, they slip me sometimes, but I always want to give credit where credit is due. But Covey, I believe. Go look it up. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The name of the book is good enough, man. So in there, it was in the first chapter. One of the first habits is changing your paradigm, or shifting your paradigm to be able to see the positive in the negatives, right? In the negatives of life. Now, we're not talking about seeing the negatives in the positive, but let me tell you this. For everything that you get, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So for every positive thing, there's a negative thing, right? You've never seen a one-sided piece of bread, have you? You've never seen a one-sided piece of paper, right? Everything has 2 sides. So if there's a negative, best believe there's an equal and opposite positive on the other side, right? That's just the law. That's just the law of the universe, right? So in the book, we're talking about changing your perspective, shifting your paradigm, meaning I'm going to see the positive in all of the negative things that's happening. There's also a positive thing that's happening. So, for example, my brother was homeless at a point in his life. And when he was homeless, may seem like a negative situation, which it was, and I'm not glorifying homelessness here, but in his homelessness, he developed a lot of skills that helped him after he came out of homelessness, right? He developed the skill of survival, right? He learned perseverance. He learned how to appreciate the things that he has, right? He started taking care of things better because he didn't have anything. Homeless with a bag and a couple of pieces of clothing and sleeping outside will make you value different things, right? Like running water and like lights, right? And so now he's more cognizant of the things that are around him and the things that we take for granted, like a shower, right? Like brushing our teeth, like the lights that we have. He values that more, right? And we can say that homelessness was a negative, but was it really? Was it really? Because of the valuable things but he learned survival. He learned a lot of valuable skills while he was doing that. It's like, hey, you're probably in a better situation where you are now than literally where I am. And it may look different because I have a business and my business was making 6 figures, but I also have 3 kids and a wife. And so that six figures gets dissipated very, very quickly, right? And so we're living the 6-figure lifestyle, right? and still living check to check, basically, you know? And that's not right. And so I want to start I had a business and I wanted to do some more different business ventures, but I'm limited in what I can do as far as monetary wise because of that barrier there. What's that? But you can literally panhandle, right? You can literally panhandle, get enough money to be able to take care of the things. And you don't have to worry about the risk of losing anything. Like me, I had to worry about the risk of possibly losing the place that we live, possibly losing vehicles, possibly getting the lights turned on, all of those things. Like, but you can start a business. You have nothing to lose. You can put everything you got into it. You can take extreme risk and not fall back, not kind of have it fall back on you in a negative way. Even if, it's like you got nothing. If you lose a couple of dollars, you're not really bad off, right? See, a person that only makes $5 a month, if they lose $4, it ain't really gonna hurt them that much. Somebody that makes $100,000 a year or $100,000 a month, if they lose 80% of that, right, or 90% of that, they got a problem, right? A big problem. So by changing your perspective and changing the perspective of your content, you can bring about new and fresh ideas using the same exact content. So let me tell you how I knew. So when you do this, you're going to have enough content to fill your podcast for the entire year and even more. Just changing the perspective of how you are looking at the problem that your people are having or the content that you're delivering, okay? So I've got a quick framework that I want to tell you about that's going to help you do that, okay? So we're going to create 60 pieces of content, right? We're going to create 60 pieces of content in, I don't know, probably about a minute here, 2 minutes, 3 minutes here. I'd say 4 minutes here. In 4 minutes, we're going to create 60 pieces of content, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now, okay? So here's the framework to get you to where you need to go. All right, so number one, you want to create 20 questions that your audience would want answered, okay? It's a 3-step framework. I forgot to tell you that. 3-step framework. Step number one is create 20 questions that your audience would want answered. Now, you can create this out of your head. You can go to the internet and find the questions, but just get 20 good questions that your audience would want answered. All right? 20 questions. That's number one. Number two, we're going to turn each of those questions into a positive, negative, and a how I. Okay? What do you mean? I'm getting there. Here we go. So we're going to turn each one of those questions into a positive, negative, and a how I. Title. All right? So if you are teaching some people how to ride a bike and you want to turn that into a positive, negative, and a how I, you would say this. For a positive, it would be how I learned. Not how I, but the positive would be how you or anyone can learn how to ride a bike in 10 minutes, or how anyone can ride a bike in 10 minutes, right? Then we're going to turn it into a negative. Why you're having trouble learning to ride a bike. It's negative, all right? So that doesn't mean negative like negative person, but negative meaning why you can't. Or why you're having trouble, or why you keep failing. You know what I'm saying? At blank. Why you keep failing at riding a bike. You know what I'm saying? People want to know that. Or 5 reasons why you are struggling to ride a bike. Got it? Cool. And then the how I is simply that. How I learned to ride a bike in 10 minutes. Right? So it's 3 different perspectives, same content, but you get 3 different pieces of content out of that. All right. So each question we're going to turn into a positive, negative, and a how I. Now that creates 60 pieces of content. All right. 60 pieces of content right there. Okay. Now you're going to create So now you created those three pieces of content from three different or one question, and you turn it to three different perspectives. So you have three pieces of content now. That gives you 60 pieces of content. And if you go once a week for this, then you have enough for the entire year and into the next year. And you just did that in 10, 20 minutes, I should say. All right. It'll probably take you 20 minutes to come up with 20 questions, 30 minutes. And then you just go, how I, boom, boom, boom. And you can even throw that in the chat GPT. Okay. All right. Then step number 3 is actually go create. Go create these pieces of content, right? Group them together. However you want to do it, you can group them together and like come up with a series, of stuff, and you'll just group them together, plan out how you're going to do whatever day you're going to do it, whatever season episodes you're going to put those in, and just literally do those one after the other. All right. Simple as that, guys. Simple as that. So we talked about in this time that we had together, we talked about how you're going to create 60 pieces of content. We talked about changing your paradigm, shifting your paradigm to see the positive, and coming at your content from 3 different perspectives. All right. So the framework that we gave you is that you're going to create 20 questions that your audience will want answered. Number 2, you're going to turn each question into a positive, negative, and a how I. And then 3, you're going to go create that stuff. And when you create it, guys, your people will start to love your podcast. They're going to come back in and they're going to continue to watch. They're going to share it with their friends because you have questions that they actually want answered. Okay. So we're going to create that content. So now you don't have to ever worry about running out of things to say, because now you have the blueprint to get enough things to say to talk about for the entire year or more. All right. So listen, if you want me to show you how I did this process and give you my exact steps to be able to implement this into your own podcast, then, go down to the show notes and click on the link down there. If you're on YouTube, there's a link in the description and somewhere around this video, right? So go down there and register for my free live masterclass. I have a live masterclass that I do, and I want you to get registered for it because I'm going to teach you all of that inside of this masterclass. All right. So with that being said, man, remember that everything that you do today affects your future. So remember tomorrow. I'm Derek Harper, owner and CEO of Transformative Media LLC, the creator of the 5P podcast, and the creator of the Table Builder Society. And I will talk to you in the next video.